This is for the person out there that knows they don't live in stress or survival mode, but still feels exhausted, not motivated, and feels burned out. It may not be stress that's burning you out. The definition of burnout: exhaustion of physical or emotional strength or motivation, usually as a result of prolonged stress or frustration, according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary. You can love everything you do and not be stressed out and still feel burnout. You may have just exhausted your masculine energy. If so, what can you do? Hello, and welcome to this safe space. I'm your host, Heather, and on this podcast, I share with you ways to move past trauma, anxiety, and stress so you can reclaim your energy and live a more peaceful inner life. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and the topic of masculine and feminine energy was brought up. Now, this topic is not gender specific. Every human has masculine and feminine energy. And if we take a more metaphysical perspective, the masculine is fire, where the feminine is water. It's the yang energy, where the feminine is yin. Both complement each other, but are different. Where the masculine energy is action-oriented, doing, protection, and leadership. The feminine is caring, nurturing, empathetic, compassionate, and open to receiving. I want you to think for a minute, which energy feels the most natural to you? Do you feel your best when you're in your masculine energy? Are you more action-oriented, or do you have a leadership role that you love? Or are you more in tune with your feminine energy? Are you empathetic, caring, more nurturing? If we are dominant in the energy that we are not most comfortable in for a prolonged period of time, and for this video, let's talk about being in our masculine, the doing action, when we are the most at ease in our feminine, we'll burn out. So how do we embody more feminine energy in a world where our masculine is needed most of the time? And I fall into this category. I'm more balanced and happy when I'm able to take the time I need to sink into my feminine energies. For example, when I'm preparing for an upcoming YouTube video, I take at least 2 hours before getting out of bed to breathe, to wake up, to sink into gratitude, to meditate. And in my meditation is where the ideas for these podcasts usually come through. So in my feminine energy, I get the inspiration. And then I take intuitive action on what came up for me. So I'm going to share a few things that I came up with to help balance my energy so I'm not always exhausted. Because YouTube is not the only thing I do. I have a day job, and that job keeps me in my masculine energy. And so my work week is typically mostly all masculine energy. So if you relate to this, if you're also the same where you have a very masculine energy type of job and you're feeling a bit burned out because you don't have enough time to reconnect with that feminine side, here's some things that I've found. A couple of them I've already incorporated, but recently I've realized that I need to do something more. So this is what I came up with. So if you are a list maker, separate your list based on masculine and feminine activities. For example, my list could look like this on like a Sunday. 1, meal prep. That's masculine, doing. Meditate. That's feminine. Edit and post YouTube video, definitely masculine. Go on a walk with Missy. Now, I make this a forest bathing, relaxing experience as I live in the forest and I'm canopied by trees. So this fills me up and feels more feminine as opposed to when I lived in the city and had more of a strenuous city walk where you have a lot of cars and people and not as many trees, right? Laundry, that's a masculine. Cleaning, masculine. Taking the garbage out, masculine. Typically, my days are filled with primarily masculine energy types of things. So the thing that I'm going to try to do, and something that I definitely encourage anyone who's in this position to try to do, is on days where you're able to shift some stuff around, try to balance out the masculine and feminine to-dos. Some days are easier than others to do this, and definitely put all the feminine energy things on your list, things that maybe you do naturally, but it's never put on a to-do list, like meditating. That's something that I naturally try to do every day, but I don't usually put it on my to-do list because it's not something that is like, oh, I need to remember to do this. But by listing out everything that you do want to do and balancing that, feminine and masculine energy, but becoming aware of how you're feeling and what your body really needs, you'll be able to get a feel for where and how to do this as well. So like if your work feels 100% masculine, and this is where I usually get burned out, prioritize a meditation in the morning or maybe a 15-minute walk where you could try to clear your mind and focus on your breath. One tip for anybody who does live in a city and, you don't have a lot of trees around you, something I started trying to do when I was in the suburbs was tune out the houses, tune out the cars, and really just as you're walking, focus on the trees, focus on the nature that you do have around you, and focus on your breath. By doing those two things, you can definitely get yourself into your parasympathetic nervous system so that you can have that more relaxed feeling after your walk instead of feeling like you just walked through the city, right? Another thing, and this is a huge, huge, huge one for me, at the end of the day, instead of rushing through all of the routine and then hopping into bed and falling asleep, after your routine of doing, try to carve out like 20 minutes of introspection time. Have a quiet place that you can sit and be by yourself to reflect on the day. And if you have a partner and they're maybe sleeping in bed, you can just sit in bed and just do that. This is all internal work. So just somewhere that you can sit and reflect on the day and pay attention to how certain things made you feel. Process anything that hasn't been processed yet. We typically get in this rat race of go, 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 do, get your work done, go do all the things you need to do. And typically we're exhausted at the end of the day before we go to bed, and all we want to do is just lie in bed, right? But going to bed without processing your day is like just taking all that and carrying it over into your next day. So if you don't already do this, I highly recommend trying it. Even try it for one day and see how it makes you feel. Compare how you feel on a day that you don't do this to a day that you do it. This is something I started doing back when I started working through a lot of my past trauma, and I still do it today because I feel so much more grounded as I go to bed. All the emotions have been processed and I tend to sleep better after this. And that's another thing too, is not a lot of people will stop and go back and think about the things that happened and the way that you reacted. You not reacted in like even an outward reaction. Sometimes things will happen during our day where we'll have a little gut reaction internally, and maybe something hurt our feelings or something like rubbed us the wrong way, or there was a situation that, you haven't processed yet. Going back and processing and thinking about those things and even just taking account to like something happened and going back and, opening yourself back up and being like, how, what was my reaction in that moment? How did that make me feel? Why did it make me feel that way? And processing everything like that, it just makes your whole day feel complete. Like for me, it really feels like if I go to bed after a rushed normal day and I don't do this, I literally feel like this low-level bit of anxiety in my body, and it's still there the next day. And then it's like compounding interest. Then the next day you go through and things will happen. And if you're not processing them as they come, day by day, it can really start to build up. And that's where we can kind of have bigger reactions, outward reactions to little things that might come up. And we might be like, whoa, why did I react that way? And it might just be because you didn't process all the little things that built up to that point. And another thing, pay attention to the things that you can and want to say no to, but you usually say yes to. This is a huge one when we want to protect our energy. If you don't have the energy or desire to do something and you have the option, saying no frees up more time for you. Prioritize your time and energy so that you can use that energy for what you know your body and mind needs. It's like there was somebody once that mentioned how putting up boundaries is like putting up a fence around your house. Picture yourself as the house. You're on a stable foundation. Maybe you're building that foundation. But if you don't have a wall up around that house, if you don't have really good boundaries, and if you're not checking in with yourself when somebody asks you to do something and you tend to automatically people please and say yes to everything, it's like not having a fence around that house, and now you have no boundaries, everything can kind of come in and it can kind of mess with you. So look for the things that people ask you to do, or situations where maybe you tend to say yes, where there's a deep little voice going, oh, I really don't want to do that. Say no, prioritize yourself, prioritize your energy, because when you do that, when you say no to the things that you know you don't want to do or have no desire to do, that just gives more energy back to you. And then you can show up in other situations being more cup full, ready to go. You're going to feel better. If you're saying yes to all these things that you don't want to do, it's depleting you. It's taking out of your cup. So fill your cup up first before you try to fill up others. And another thing I do want to bring up, society today prizes the masculine energy over the feminine. You see this as, just do it, keep going, work. Like the masculine energy is what people think is the prized energy, but both are equally needed. And so one thing I want to bring up that was something that got brought up in this conversation I was having, if you are naturally more at home in your feminine energy, it is 100% okay for you to want a partner that holds the masculine energy. And what do I mean by this? This may trigger a lot of you, but if you desire a man to financially take care of you, if you want a provider because you know your worth in your feminine energy and you know what you bring with you just being in your natural state, you deserve it. There are still men out there that want to be the provider, that want their partner to feel safe, to sink into their feminine energy. They know the value they receive in this exchange. So if this is you and you've been feeling guilty that you want this, here's your permission slip to stop feeling guilty. These unions of the divine feminine and the divine masculine, when both have healed their trauma and they both face their shadow aspects head on, these are true power couples. And if this is what your soul desires, then don't let yourself get bullied around by societal norms. So if you got any value from this message, I'd love for you to hit the like button. Let me know by hitting the like button. Subscribe if self-mastery is your vibe, and I will see you on the next one.